What steps can you follow when writing a literature review? Let's take a look. Search for relevant papers. First, you should decide on the focus of your review, guided by your research questions so that you can search for relevant papers. You need to determine the scope of the review. How narrow or broad will the focus be? Is there a word limit for the review? In some fields, you might need only to review the most relevant and recent papers. In others, a thorough historical overview might be expected. You should select keywords carefully to ensure your literature search does not miss important and relevant papers, or include too many irrelevant or only loosely related papers. Use your keywords to search different databases, certainly those most useful in your field, but Google Scholar, EBSCO and JSTOR are also good places to start with general searches. Once you start to review the papers, check the reference lists to identify any papers that you might have missed in your database search. Look out for any authors whose names reappear frequently, as they are most likely to be the leaders in the field. It is worth doing separate searches just for papers by these authors. Assess and select your papers. Not every paper will be relevant, so first read the abstracts to identify those that are most promising. Try to identify key papers in the field. Those that are repeatedly cited, introduce major theories, or provide a review of the current status of the field. Start by reading these to give you a good overview. While it is obviously important to include classic papers in the field, you don't need to provide too much information, as most readers will already be familiar with them. As you read, you need to evaluate the research in terms of its relevance to your own study, its strengths and weaknesses, its theoretical approach or framework, its methodology, whether it supports or contradicts other studies, and its overall contribution to the field. Write notes to help organise your review. Identify the key concepts, themes and ideas, and identify similarities, differences, patterns and relationships. Also, look out for theoretical developments, methodological trends and so on. Look for gaps in the research and take note of topics that require further study. Always remember to note the reference to the paper, along with any notes you make, even when you are paraphrasing. If you forget to include a source you used for something you later include in your paper, you might be at risk of plagiarism, or have to spend a lot of time tracking down the reference, so keep a thorough record. Organise your review. The organisation of the contents of your literature review will depend on the nature of your paper, the expectations of the field, and the word limit. A single section might be sufficient for a brief review of current research, but consider using subheadings to structure a longer review. There are several ways of organising a longer review. You may decide to take a chronological approach, starting with early developments and ending with the most up-to-date studies. Or it may make more sense to organise the review around separate themes, or different theoretical approaches or perspectives. If methodology is an important theme of your research, you may want to organise your review around different research methods. Write your review. Start with an introduction that explains why the topic is important and sets out the structure or scope of the review. Write the body of the review following your planned structure. Remember that the purpose of a review is not to list the studies, but to critically evaluate them. Each paragraph should be clearly linked to the overall topic, and the connections between different areas should be explicit. You should be making constant comparisons and connections. Highlight controversial or inconsistent findings and discuss any ongoing debates and disagreements in the field. Be sure to cite any papers that contradict your approach, findings, hypothesis. If you don't, a reviewer is sure to spot the omission. Coming up next, once your review is complete, the next step is to summarise the findings. Identify the gaps in the literature, provide the rationale for your study, and explain what will contribute to research and practice. We cover these important topics in our next Infobite, number 6.